It's time to cook with Susan Beck. Today we are going to make cabbage and sausage in an air fryer. This is just such a great quick meal. And in this time of year, the cabbages are getting big in the garden and you may need a use for them. And it's great for the summer because we're going to use the air fryer. You could do this in the oven as well. Just preheat your oven to 375 degrees. I'm going to preheat my air fryer here to 375 degrees as well. 390 is what mine comes on at, so I'm just going to push the button down once and I get 375, and I'll hit start, and I'm just going to let that warm up a little bit. Now this is a quick recipe. I'm going to just cut up my cabbage, cut up my Polish kielbasa, which I'm going to use for my sausage, but you could use brats or any kind of turkey sausage, any kind of sausage you'd like. You can use a clove of garlic, or I still have some garlic scapes from my garden. So be sure to check out my video. I'll put a link below for my garlic scapes and how to harvest them. And this is too late in this year probably to get your garlic scapes, but in the future you could. All right, I've used half this head of cabbage before, so I just want to get rid of, I kind of got an edge that's not so nice. So if you're in the middle of using a cabbage that you've already been using, we're going to get rid of that. And then sometimes these outer layers, of cabbage aren't as nice either, so I'm just going to get rid of those as well. Now this recipe, basically it's a cup for every person. It's one Polish kielbasa would be enough for 4 people, and 4 cups of cabbage for 4 people. Well, there's just 2 of us eating in our house tonight, so we're just going to use half of the Polish kielbasa, and we're going to cut up about 2 cups of cabbage. Now I want my cabbage cut into pieces that are ready to be eaten, where I don't have to use a knife so much, where I can just stab them with my fork. So I'm just gonna cut those so they're in, chunks kind of like this, more of a bite-sized piece. And I'm looking for about 2 cups since I am going to be making 2 servings. I'm gonna put this into a bowl, and we'll move on to cutting our Polish kielbasa. All right, now you have options. If you want the rounds, you can just cut them like this, or if you'd like them to be in half rounds, you can just slice your Polish kielbasa into 2 pieces, and then you'll have half circles to serve for dinner. All right, let's move that Polish kielbasa into that same bowl as the cabbage, and now we're gonna look at those garlic scapes. These garlic scapes I cut off in June, but they still look great, and I'm still using them here at the beginning of August. And this is what shoots up first, and you can harvest this and use it for garlic before you can harvest the cloves. I don't want this like seed part, and I don't want this tougher portion that's down here. So I'm gonna get rid of those parts, and then this will be plenty of garlic, just 1 garlic scape here. So you can cut these with a knife, or you could use a kitchen scissors and shears. Now I find a little bit with the scissors that they kind of want to fly around, so I'm just gonna go ahead and cut them with a knife, but decide what works for you. As with our other ingredients that we chopped up, we're gonna add the garlic scapes to that as well. Now, if you don't have garlic scapes, you can just use a couple cloves of garlic. I just use 1 clove of garlic if I was making this for 2 people. If you're making the full recipe of 4, then go ahead and use 2 garlic cloves. This is a recipe though that you can really just kind of guess at. I've got maybe closer to 3 cups of cabbage in here. 2 was what I was looking for. Same with the garlic, if you really like garlic, use a little more. I'm not gonna measure my other ingredients either, but I want about 1/4 teaspoon, 1/8 to 1/4 teaspoon of these herbs. So here I have some onion powder, and I'm going to use a little kosher salt, a little paprika, and again, you could measure out your 1/8 to 1/4 depending on how spicy you want it, or you can just eyeball it. My last spice here is some freshly ground pepper. Now into there, the point of using an air fryer is you don't need a lot of oil. So I'm gonna try just like a tablespoon of oil and see if that coats everything well. You wanna use enough oil that you get those spices to stick. And I'm just using a tongs here to toss these. And that looks like I have plenty of oil on there. Everything looks just, coated just a little bit. Now I used olive oil, but you can use canola oil, vegetable oil, any kind of oil you would like. This recipe, is really pretty easy going. If you don't like cabbage, put a different vegetable in there. Everything can be changed. Okay, so we're going back to our air fryer, which we had preheating, and we're going to toss in those vegetables along with the meat and the seasonings. Get all that out of there so we don't waste any of it. And this is going to roast for 5 minutes. All right, after 5 minutes, we will be tossing it, and then we're gonna kind of decide how many more minutes we want based on how well done you like your cabbage. Well, it's been 5 minutes, and if you look closely, you can see how the top of the cabbage is getting charred a little bit, and the same with the meat that is on the top. So we're gonna give this a toss, just taking my tongs and flipping it around a little bit. And I like my cabbage a little more done, so I'm gonna go with probably about 3 more minutes is what I have found works well. So I go back into my air fryer, set my temperature again for 375, and I want 3 minutes on my air fryer. Well, my air fryer just dinged again saying it had reached the end of its time. So I'm just going to, the only way you can really tell is to taste that cabbage. I'm not so much worried about the meat. That will be okay, but I want to see if that cabbage is okay. Be careful you don't burn yourself. For me, I need that cabbage done a little bit more. So in goes 2 or 3 more minutes here. All right, let's take a look. Look at that. I love how it's got that charred look to the cabbage and the edges of that Polish kielbasa. And notice how much that cabbage wilts down when it's cooked. It takes a little more cabbage than you might think. Same is true with Swiss chard. I've got all kinds of Swiss chard and kale recipes on my site as well. There's still a little cleanup with this meal too. I mean, I just need to wipe out my air fryer and wash that bowl that I used to kind of mix everything together. All right, well, there's my half of dinner. Let's see how that tastes. All right, that cabbage still has a little bit of crunch, but not like before where it was still kind of on the raw side. And I don't know, there's just sausage and cabbage together. It's just a great combination. And I just love the spice choices of paprika, onion powder, salt, and pepper. So if you're looking for an easy recipe made either in your oven or your air fryer, try this summer.